Welcome to r/Am I the Asshole? Story 1. Am I the asshole for denying my ex his son after he abandoned us, and I took the choice alone to give him up for adoption? Throwaway. So get your "this is fake" because new account comments out early. I 32 female had a baby boy when I was 16. Yes, I know how that sounds like. No, we weren't careful. Judge me all you want on that front. I have dealt with that for years. Mike, 33 years old male, was my boyfriend then. And when I found out about my pregnancy, he did a disappearing act with help from his family. Something future college star, something. My parents were always blunt. What happened next was my choice. After a lot of thinking and deciding, abortion just was not for me. I respect that right. I am not here to debate it. It was just not for me. I chose to give up the baby for adoption. My parents knew a super sweet couple that were looking to adopt. We met, and I just knew they were the right people. This turned from a teen mistake to an almost surrogacy. I started homeschool to finish my education and to have rest. The adoptive parents were with me for everything and even paid for most of the medical costs. The adoptive mother was a teacher, so she helped me with my schoolwork and to prepare for college. They were present for the birth, and I refused to hold the baby. Instead, his actual mother did, and it was just right. I have stayed in the baby's life in a distant position as a special aunt. Well, he is no longer a baby, and he knows who I am, but his mom is the same woman that raised him, and I continue to be his special aunt. The only change is now he knows who to call if he needs a kidney. His sense of humor is like mine, go figure. We talk maybe once in a blue moon, which in all honesty is the best. He is happy, and I do not regret giving him up to have a happy life. For my part, I married 6 years ago. My husband, Aaron, 44 years old male, was divorced in good terms with Bella, 40 years old female. They have 2 children together. A boy that is 16 and a girl that is 19. Aaron made it clear since we began dating that his kids' approval was important and that Bella was part of his life forever. Not as a spouse, but as a friend and mother to his children. I also told Bella and him about my teen pregnancy. Well, to begin with the kids, my stepdaughter and I get along well. She is obviously closer to her mother, but she still does girls' days with me every so often. It's more like friends, though. My stepson is incredibly close to me. He calls me his other mom and always asks me to be present for important events. We bonded when his childhood dog passed away, as my cat died about the same time. Bella and I? We're best friends. I know people have complicated relationships with their partner's exes, but we always show respect to each other. I never tried to take her place. I know Aaron and her shared something special long before I was in the picture. That's their history. And I am a stepmom, not a mom. Her place in the kid's life is not up for competition. The reason for this background is that the whole mess with Mike started when I took my stepson to a medical appointment. It wasn't serious, though he did have to use anesthesia. Aaron and Bella both could not get the day off. They tried, but their jobs are on call and they cannot easily take time off. So I went on my own to be my stepson's support. I did not recognize Mike as one of the doctors. His real name, both first and last name, are incredibly common, and it had been years. Not to mention my priority was being my stepson's support, and everything else was secondary. After my stepson was done, he was a bit out of it, as expected. I was setting him up in the car and making sure he was comfortable when Mike came over. He told me he had been thinking about me and our son for so long, and he was glad our boy was okay. It really took me a few minutes for my brain to click on what was going on, and he kept on rambling about apologies and how he was not ready to be a father. Blah, blah, blah. Eventually, I just sighed and loudly said, "This is not the baby I was pregnant with." I gave him up for adoption after I gave birth. I am a stepmother. My loopy stepson chimed in with, "Other mom." I had to hold back a smirk, to be honest. Mike was stunned by that, and it gave me time to catch him up on the important details. I gave up the baby. He knows what happened and why I gave him up. I married a man with 2 children. I am happy and do not want him in my life. And no, I will not give him contact information for the adoptive family. He is 16 years too late. That was the end of it, and I got into my car to get my stepson home to rest. Since then, Mike found me in social media and has been painting this sob story about me denying him a chance to be a father. How I was a poor mother that threw away her child to raise someone else's children. I am basically the she-devil, apparently. Most of our former classmates that saw the post reminded him that he left me. Some of his high school friends even pointed out he laughed about leaving me pregnant. I did not know that part. A few of his relatives have reached out to bash me about taking Mike's chance to be a father. That it made me a poor Christian. I'm not. I am Jewish to begin with. A few friends did tell me it was a bad move to give the baby up without telling Mike. I do not personally think I was in the wrong, but in case I decided to leave the judgment to the internet masses. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Story 2. Am I the asshole for offering no sympathy to my husband when his dad crossed a boundary? I am currently pregnant with my 2nd child. I found out 3 days before Christmas and told my husband the following day. He was pleased as punch. Myself, excited but more than a little nervous. Big mixed bag of feelings. For this and other reasons, I asked my husband if we could keep the news between us for a while and let me process/adjust to this new reality before sharing with our family/friends. His response, I am so excited. Can I just tell work friend? I repeated that I would prefer to keep it between us for now, at least to get through the holidays without all the focus on us. Fewer than 10 minutes later, he says, work friend is super happy for us. And I told other friend, she says, congratulations. I let him know I was disappointed and I thought his behavior was super disrespectful and bad, but whatever, it is out of my hands now. He assured me that he was not going to tell anyone else. Fast forward through the weeks following Christmas, during which he pestered and pressured me to tell his family members before I was ready. Again, we had his parents casually over for coffee one night, and he let it slip without my consent because he is just so excited. Repeat this process with a few other friends and family members. For whatever reason, he hasn't yet let it slip to his paternal grandparents. Because of this, his dad has been pressuring him to call them. Today, his dad gave him an ultimatum. He would say something before the end of the day if my husband did not. Husband comes home in a super disagreeable mood and proceeds to vent to me about his dad's total lack of consideration and how angry he is over this ultimatum. I calmly listen to him and I agree it is not a nice thing to do. It is not his dad's news to share. It is inconsiderate. But this is where maybe I am the asshole. I love you, but does this maybe give you some context for how it felt when you did the same thing to me? He then gets even angrier and tells me that it is not the same situation at all, criticizes me for making it about myself, says I have a victim mindset, he just needs support from me and not whatever this is. I then also blew up at him, defending myself, and we have hardly spoken for the rest of the night. I cannot wrap my head around him wanting sympathy from me after repeatedly hurting me with almost the same behavior. But is it not the same situation? Is he right? Should I have put my own resentment aside to help him feel better? Did I selfishly make it about me? Maybe he would have made the connection without me pointing it out, or maybe he would have been more receptive if I just gave him a hug and let him calm down for a while. I do not think so. I'm still livid. But please tell me what you think, outside observer. Story 3. Am I the asshole for my daughter getting special treatment over my stepdaughter? I have been getting attacked by my husband's bowel movements family for weeks, and I am at a breaking point. I do not know what to do. I have been married to my husband for a year and a half, and we have been together for 3 years in total. I am divorced. He was with his ex for years, and they broke up. I have a 10-year-old daughter. He has a 9-year-old daughter. The girls get along well, and I love my stepdaughter. She is very sweet and kind-hearted, and when she comes every other week, we all get excited. She is also an amazing older sister to our baby last year. My daughter's father moved back to our home state after our divorce, and my daughter sees him and his family every summer. He's not really an active dad, but he spoils our daughter profusely as a way to apologize for moving far away. This is where some of the issues lie. If my daughter asks her dad for something and he Amazons it to our house, my stepdaughter will feel jealous. For example, last May, my daughter wanted the brand new iPad that just came out, and she asked her father for it, and he bought it for her. When it arrived, my stepdaughter was sad because hers is old and has a cracked screen, and she asked my husband to buy the same one brand new, but he could not afford it, and her mom was furious. We explained my ex-husband bought it for her, but she still was upset. She said that my husband is putting another woman's child before his own, and that it is not fair. My daughter gets to have two dad figures, 24/7, but her daughter only sees her father 2 weeks every month. Then, for my daughter's birthday this summer, her father and her cousins came into the state, and we threw her a huge party. My stepdaughter was there, and afterwards she left the state with her dad, and he took her and her cousins to Disney World. We asked my stepdaughter's mom if she could come when my ex told me he was booking the trip, and she said no, which of course makes sense since she doesn't know my ex-husband. But she got very upset and said my daughter shouldn't be allowed to go since her daughter can't go. My ex-husband makes a lot of money, and he can do things for my daughter that I cannot. My therapist told me that my daughter might resent me if I do not let her and her dad's relationship flourish, and not allowing her to have things or do things to make my stepdaughter feel better is putting a burden on my daughter she did not ask for. My husband agrees and says that we should just ignore his ex's outburst, so we did. Things got really bad this Christmas. We spent it with our son and my stepdaughter. My daughter spent it with her father, and she came back with a lot of stuff. A lot. Even I was shocked. She even had a designer purse. Coach, but still. A bunch of skincare and makeup, Lululemon, other clothes, a bunch of gift cards, etc. My daughter is a preteen and is in that phase of her life, but I did not expect her dad to get her everything from her wish list. This year, my husband and I saved and bought my stepdaughter a new iPad, a lot of clothes, and even an Ulta gift card she begged for. But that is not even close to what my daughter got. My daughter said she was going to share everything with her stepsister, and they share a bathroom, and she unpacked all her products for them both to use. But when my stepdaughter came over after her week with her mom, she cried when she saw all the new things my daughter got. Even when my daughter said she would share everything and wanted to do face masks together, my stepdaughter said no and started screaming at her dad that he needs to buy her everything, like my daughter's dad buys her. And why does she get two dads and she only gets none? We were all shocked. I send my daughter to her room so my stepdaughter can speak with her dad privately, and he tells me later that she told him that her mom told her that my daughter gets to have my husband live with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and be a dad to her. And then has a dad that lives far away that buys her anything, and that if my husband loved her, he would choose to live with her full-time and not live with my daughter full-time. She has told us stuff like that, but I had no idea she was saying things like that in front of my stepdaughter. My husband assured his daughter that he loves, and that love is more than just material things, but as a child, that is hard to grasp. Ever since my husband's ex and her family have been slandering us online, calling my husband a deadbeat and saying that he loves my daughter more than his own daughter because he can watch her get everything that his daughter wants and does not care. They are acting like my husband is the one buying things for my daughter. If her father wants to spoil her, how is that my husband's concern? My ex may not want to be an everyday dad, but I do appreciate his bond with my daughter and that through him she will always be set in life. She must have given my number to her sisters and friends, because I have been receiving nonstop texts and voicemails saying, how can I live with myself knowing I am making a little girl miserable? Even when I block, I get new ones. They even went as far as to tell me that I should give my ex full custody so my stepdaughter does not have to see the special treatment. My ex has been saying he wants our daughter to go to a private school in my area when she gets to high school in 4 years that she has to be waitlisted for, and I cannot imagine the issues that will arise then. Since my husband and his ex could not afford it, does that mean our daughter should not go? My stepdaughter has become distant and does not want to leave her room when she comes over, and is clearly repeating things her mom tells her, like, she gets 2 dads and I have none, and I do not want your hand-me-downs, when my daughter is offering her a skincare product, which, mind you, has not even been a month since she has gotten it. Am I the asshole? Story 4. Am I the asshole for grounding my daughter and canceling her senior trip after I found out she was cheating on her boyfriend? I have 2 daughters, Lizzie, 17 years old female, and Mackenzie, 14 years old female. Their dad and I divorced a few years ago after I discovered he was having an affair. I have the kids most of the time, and their dad has them every weekend and during the summers. Lizzie has been dating Jacob, 18 years old, male, for over a year now. Jacob is constantly at our house. He's a sweet, good young man, and I believe he will be valedictorian of their class. However, a few weeks ago, I overheard Lizzie on the phone with a guy, clearly flirting. At first, I thought it was Jacob, but then I heard her say Brandon. I realized she was talking to someone else. Then a week later, she mentioned to me that she was heading out to hang with a friend, and when I looked out the window, I saw her get into a car and greet a guy with a kiss. It wasn't Jacob. Even after that, Jacob continued to come over, hanging out with Lizzie. He and Lizzie still acted like a couple, holding hands, laughing, and spending time together, just like they always had. I felt disgusted knowing my daughter was being a two-timer. After Jacob left that day, I confronted my daughter. I asked her point blank, "Are you cheating on your boyfriend with another guy?" She said it was none of my business and that her personal life was hers only. I told her she was wrong and that I raised her better than to treat people like this. She told me she was bored with Jacob and that Brandon was more her type now. I told her that if she was not happy, she should just break up with Jacob. She said she didn't know if she wanted to be with Brandon or if she was just having fun flirting and teasing. I told her cheating was unacceptable and wrong, and as a consequence, I grounded her. I also told her she was not allowed to go on her senior trip with her friends. She obviously did not take that too well and has been at her dad's place for the last couple of days. My ex-husband called me, saying I was being unreasonable not letting her go on the trip and that she and Jacob were just a high school thing. He then told me I needed to put my bitterness aside and stop punishing his daughter. I told him I was teaching our daughter right from wrong and that actions have consequences. Thank you for watching.